"You don't deserve to sit with us," my DIL said on Thanksgiving, so I changed everything. My son wrote, "Dad, this year we're celebrating Thanksgiving just with the family. You're not invited." His wife added, "Maybe someday you'll earn the right to sit at the table with us." I replied, "Thanks for letting me know. I'll cancel all automatic payments today," and left the group chat. An hour later, 95 missed calls. Let me back up. I'm Benjamin Carter, 58 years old, and I thought I knew what family meant until my daughter-in-law showed me otherwise. You know, I spent 35 years swinging hammers and managing crews as a construction foreman here in Ohio. Started when I was 23, fresh out of high school with nothing but strong hands and a willingness to work. Built half the subdivisions in this town with these hands, worked through scorching summers and brutal winters, saved every penny I could while other guys were blowing their paychecks at the bar every Friday night. I wasn't trying to be a saint or anything. I just had this vision, you know? Wanted to build something lasting. Not just houses, though God knows I built plenty of those, but a legacy. A foundation my family could stand on. Thought about retirement, thought about family, thought about leaving something good behind for my boy Tyler, and eventually for his kids. The construction business taught me a lot about foundations. You cut corners on the foundation, the whole structure comes down eventually. Doesn't matter how pretty the house looks on top. If the base isn't solid, you're asking for trouble. I applied that same philosophy to everything. Work hard, save money, take care of your people, and build something that lasts. Never imagined I'd be using that carefully saved money as a weapon against my own family, but here we are. Tyler's always been a good kid, maybe too good if that makes sense. The kind of boy who'd rather go along to get along than rock the boat. When he was little, that made him easy to raise. No teenage rebellion, no staying out all night, no phone calls from the principal. He just wanted everyone to be happy, even if it meant he wasn't. I used to worry about that, told my late wife Sarah more than once that the boy needed more backbone. "He's going to get walked on," I'd tell her. She'd just smile and say, "Give him time. He'll find his spine when he needs it." Well, Sarah's been gone 8 years now, and Tyler's still looking for that spine. When he brought Michelle home 5 years ago, I'll admit I was hopeful. She seemed confident, decisive, the kind of woman who could maybe help Tyler stand a little straighter. Pretty girl too, with this bright smile and a way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room when she talked to you. I should have paid more attention to how she talked about other people when they weren't in the room. The wedding was beautiful. I walked Tyler down the aisle. Well, we walked together since Sarah wasn't there to do it, and I felt proud watching my son start his own family. Michelle's folks had flown in from California. Nice enough people, though they kept making little comments about how quaint our town was. Michelle laughed along with those comments, and I noticed Tyler's jaw tighten each time, but he never said anything. First red flag looking back. When Lucas came along 2 years later, I thought I'd never felt joy like that. Holding my grandson for the first time, seeing Tyler's face light up as he became a father himself. It felt like everything I'd worked for had led to that moment. 3 generations of Carter men, and little Lucas was going to grow up knowing his grandfather, learning how to use tools, maybe even following in the family construction business someday. That's when the money situation started. Tyler had been working at a marketing firm downtown, decent job but not great pay. When Lucas arrived, Michelle took maternity leave from her administrative job at the hospital, and suddenly their budget got real tight real fast. Diapers, formula, pediatrician visits, it all adds up fast when you're not expecting it, so I started helping. Nothing dramatic, nothing with strings attached. Just quietly making sure the mortgage got paid each month, that Tyler's car payment didn't lapse, $1,800 for the house, $400 for his truck, $2,200 a month that came out of my retirement savings, without a word of complaint. I'd been putting money away for 35 years. Had more than enough to live comfortably and still help my family. Seemed like the natural thing to do. What's the point of having money if you can't use it to take care of the people you love? Besides, Tyler and Michelle were young. They'd get on their feet eventually, maybe take over the payments themselves, maybe not, didn't matter to me. Family takes care of family. That's how I was raised, and that's how I raised Tyler. Or thought I did. For the first couple years after Lucas was born, everything seemed fine. Great, even. I'd come over every Saturday morning, bring donuts, play with Lucas while Tyler and Michelle got some extra sleep. We'd go to the park, build things with blocks, read stories. Simple stuff. But Lucas would light up every time Grandpa walked through the door. Those Saturday mornings became the highlight of my week. After a lifetime of working with my hands, of solving problems with tools and materials, there was something magical about making a 2-year-old giggle just by making funny faces or pretending to be a monster who was afraid of tickles. Michelle seemed to enjoy those visits too, at least at first. She'd thank me for giving them time to sleep in, ask if I wanted to stay for lunch, include me in decisions about Lucas's care. Normal daughter-in-law stuff, or what I thought was normal anyway. I should have been paying closer attention. The changes started small. So small I almost missed them. It began about 6 months ago, right around Lucas's 4th birthday. Michelle started making little comments, nothing you could really call out without seeming petty. Your dad called again during Lucas's nap time. Or I wish your father would understand we have our own way of doing things now. Always said with this patient, long-suffering tone that made it sound like I was some kind of burden they were graciously tolerating. Tyler would just nod along, maybe mutter something about how I meant well. Never once did he stand up and say, "Hey, that's my father you're talking about." Never once did he point out that his father was keeping a roof over their heads. Then came the scheduling conflicts. "Oh, Benjamin, I'm so sorry, but Lucas has been acting up after visits with Grandpa. Maybe we should space them out more." That was the first real shot across the bow. My grandson, who used to run to me like I was Christmas morning, suddenly wasn't available for our Saturday morning pancake runs. Too busy. Too tired. Too overstimulated from preschool. I kept my mouth shut for a while, figured it would blow over. Michelle was young, probably just trying to establish her territory as the new mom. I get that. New mothers sometimes feel like they're competing with everyone. Other moms, their own mothers, even grandfathers. Natural instinct to protect their nest. But Lucas loved our time together, and kids that age don't fake that kind of excitement. When a 4-year-old's face lights up like the 4th of July every time Grandpa walks through the door, well, that's not something you can manufacture. And Michelle noticed. That's when the restrictions really started. First, the visits became supervised. Michelle needed to be present to maintain consistency in Lucas's routine. Then they became shorter. Lucas gets overwhelmed with too much excitement. Then they needed advance notice. Not just a heads up the night before, but a formal request 48 hours in advance. Like I was scheduling a business meeting instead of spending time with my own grandson. And the excuses. Dear God, the excuses. I started keeping a journal around month 3, writing down every time I called to ask about seeing Lucas and what reason I got for why it wasn't a good time. 37 attempts in 6 months. 37 different variations of not today. He's going through a phase where strangers upset him. I'm his grandfather, not a stranger. The pediatrician says too much excitement isn't good for his development. What pediatrician recommends less grandparent time? We're trying to establish better boundaries with extended family. Extended family, there's that phrase again. He needs more one-on-one time with his parents right now. Because God forbid a kid should have multiple adults who love him. Maybe next week. Next week never came. Maybe next month. Next month was worse. We'll see. I learned to hate those 2 words more than any curse. The whole time Tyler just went along with it. When I'd try to talk to him man to man, he'd give me the same tired lines Michelle had obviously coached him on. "Dad, she's just trying to do what's best for Lucas." Or "You know how she is about schedules," or my personal favorite, "Can't you just respect our decisions as parents?" Respect. There's that word that would come back to haunt us all. By month 4, I was lucky to see my grandson once every 2 weeks. Brief visits, always with Michelle hovering nearby, always cut short for some urgent reason. Nap time, meal time, time out. There was always something. I watched my relationship with Lucas start to fade in real time. The hugs became less enthusiastic, the excitement dimmed. He started looking to Michelle for permission before he'd even talk to me, this little 4-year-old checking to see if it was okay to love his grandfather. That's what really got to me, not the inconvenience, not even the disrespect to me personally. It was watching Michelle train my grandson to doubt whether our relationship was acceptable, using a little boy as a weapon in whatever war she was fighting against my influence in their family. But I kept writing those checks, every month, like clockwork. $1,800 for the mortgage, $400 for Tyler's truck. Never missed a payment, never complained about it, never held it over their heads. Just quietly made sure my family was taken care of, the way fathers and grandfathers are supposed to do. That was my mistake. I thought being supportive would earn me respect, maybe even gratitude. Instead, it just made me invisible. You know what the worst part was? Tyler started changing too. My boy who used to call me every Sunday just to chat about work or the weather or whatever football game was on. My son who used to ask my advice on everything from job interviews to which lawnmower to buy. He started treating me like I was some kind of problem to manage rather than his father. Conversations became stilted, formal. He'd answer my calls with this careful tone, like he was handling a delicate situation. When I'd ask about work or how things were going, I'd get these generic responses that told me nothing. When I'd ask about Lucas, I'd get a list of reasons why visits weren't working out. Michelle had done something I didn't think was possible. She'd made my own son uncomfortable with our relationship. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago. I called on a Tuesday evening, just wanting to take Lucas to the park like we used to do every weekend. Simple request, right? A grandfather wanting to push his grandson on a swing and maybe get some ice cream afterward. "Oh, I'm sorry, Benjamin," Michelle said in that sickeningly sweet voice she'd perfected. "Lucas is having some attachment issues right now. The child psychologist says it's important for him to bond with his immediate family first, before expanding to extended relationships." Extended relationships? That's what I'd become in my own family. Extended. "Michelle," I said, trying to keep my voice level, "I'm his grandfather. I'm not extended family. I'm his blood." Well, technically we all choose our family these days, don't we? Biology isn't everything. What matters is what's healthy for Lucas's development. Choose our family. Biology isn't everything. Like 35 years of being Tyler's father and 4 years of being Lucas's grandfather counted for nothing because Michelle had decided I wasn't part of their chosen circle. That's when I knew we were way past the point of reasonable conversation. But even then, I kept paying those bills. The real knockout punch came 2 weeks later. Thanksgiving. I'd been looking forward to it for months, honestly. Figured no matter how bad things got between Michelle and me, surely she wouldn't mess with Thanksgiving. It's tradition, it's family, it's as American as apple pie and Sunday football, right? Even if our relationship was strained, holidays were supposed to be sacred ground. I'd already started planning in my head. Maybe I'd bring my famous sweet potato casserole, the one Tyler used to beg me to make when he was a kid. Perhaps Lucas and I could watch the Macy's parade together in the morning, then help with cooking preparations. Simple grandfather stuff, the kind of memories that last a lifetime. Wrong, dead wrong. The text came from Tyler on a Tuesday evening. Group chat with me, my brother Paul, and Tyler's cousin Jenny, people who'd been coming to our family Thanksgivings for years. "Hey everyone, just wanted to give you a heads up that this year we're keeping Thanksgiving small. Just the 3 of us. Michelle's been stressed with work and we want to focus on creating our own family traditions. Hope you understand." I stared at that message for about 10 minutes. Creating their own family traditions, at whose expense? And what about Lucas? Didn't he deserve to know his whole extended family? Didn't he deserve the chaos and laughter of a real family gathering? My brother Paul responded first. "That's too bad, but we understand. Maybe Christmas?" Jenny chimed in. "Of course, family time is important. Let us know if you change your minds." Everyone being so understanding, so accommodating. Nobody wanted to be the difficult one, the person who made waves. Everyone just rolling over and accepting that we'd been dismissed from our own family holiday. Before I could figure out how to respond, Michelle jumped into the chat. "We really appreciate everyone understanding. Maybe someday we'll expand our circle again. But for now, we need this time to focus on us. Benjamin, maybe you'll earn the right to sit at the table with us again when you learn to respect our boundaries as parents. Earn the right to sit at the table with my own family. After 3 years of mortgage payments and car payments and whatever else they needed. After 35 years of breaking my back to build a good life for my family. After 58 years of working hard and playing by the rules and being a decent father and grandfather. After watching my grandson's face light up every time I walked through the door, until his mother systematically trained that joy out of him. I had to earn the right to sit at their table. Something just snapped. I didn't think, didn't consider consequences. Didn't weigh pros and cons or worry about burning bridges. I just typed fast before I could second-guess myself. "Thanks for letting me know. I'll cancel all automatic payments today." Hit send. Left the group chat. Turned my phone face down on the kitchen table. You know what? It felt amazing for about 30 seconds, pure righteous anger flowing through my fingers into that text message. Take that, Michelle. See how your own family traditions work when daddy's money isn't keeping the lights on. Then reality hit, and my phone started ringing. First call was Tyler. Maybe 5 minutes after I sent the message. I let it go to voicemail. Dad, call me back. We need to talk about this. His voice was tight, controlled. The tone you use when you're trying not to panic, but you can feel the walls closing in. Second call was Michelle. 10 minutes later, also went to voicemail, but her message was different. Benjamin, I think there's been some misunderstanding. Please call me back so we can discuss this like adults. Like adults, from the woman who just told me I needed to earn the right to see my own grandson. Third call was Tyler again. Then Michelle, then Tyler. Then some number I didn't recognize, probably one of Michelle's friends or her mother, deployed as reinforcements. By the end of the first hour, I had 23 missed calls. The voicemails started piling up, and I could hear the progression from confusion to concern to barely contained panic. That's when I turned my phone completely off and poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon. Sat in my recliner, the same chair I'd been sitting in for 15 years, in the house I'd paid off through decades of honest work, and thought about family. What is family, really? Is it biology? Is it obligation? Is it who shows up when times get hard? Or is it who you choose to keep around when times are good? I'd always thought family meant showing up. Being there, providing support without expecting anything in return except maybe some basic respect and inclusion. I thought family meant my grandson would know his grandfather, would have memories of building things together and learning about tools and hearing stories about the old days. Apparently, I'd been wrong about what family meant. The next morning, I woke up with a clear head and did exactly what I'd said I would do. Called the mortgage company first thing at 8 a.m. Good morning. This is Benjamin Carter. I need to cancel the automatic payment on account number. The customer service representative was very polite, very professional. Asked if I was sure, mentioned something about making sure the account holder was aware of the change. I assured her that, yes, I was sure, and yes, the account holder would be made aware very quickly. Took about 5 minutes. No drama, no judgment from the nice lady on the phone, just a simple business transaction. Click, click, done, $1,800 a month back in my pocket. Car payment was even easier. Their online system let me cancel the automatic transfer in under 2 minutes. A few clicks, a confirmation email, and suddenly Tyler's truck payment was his problem again. Just like that, $2,200 a month that I'd been quietly providing for 3 years was gone. 3 years of keeping my family housed and mobile, erased with a few mouse clicks and a phone call. When I turned my phone back on around noon, I had 47 text messages and 34 missed calls. The progression was something to behold. The voicemails started reasonable enough. Tyler trying to be diplomatic. Dad, this is Tyler. Look, I know Michelle came on a little strong, but you can't just cut us off like this. We need to talk. By the 5th message, reality was starting to creep in. Dad, please. I'm not sure what happened with the mortgage payment. There might be some kind of error. Can you just call me back? By the 10th message, the panic was setting in. Dad, please, the mortgage payment got declined. Michelle's freaking out. Just call me back and we'll figure this out. By the 15th message, Dad, I'm begging you. Please call me back. By the 20th message, reality had fully hit. Michelle's voice this time, and the sweet facade was completely gone. Benjamin, this is Michelle. I think I may have miscommunicated earlier. Of course, you're welcome for Thanksgiving. Please call me back immediately. The shift from earn the right to, of course, you're welcome in less than 24 hours would have been funny, if it wasn't so pathetic. The last voicemail was Tyler again, and he sounded like a man who'd just watched his house of cards collapse. Dad, look, I screwed up. Michelle screwed up. We both know it. But you can't punish Lucas for our mistakes. Please, please call me back. That last message almost got to me. Almost. But then I remembered 6 months of excuses. 6 months of being treated like an inconvenience instead of a family member. 6 months of watching my relationship with my grandson get systematically destroyed by a woman who saw me as competition instead of an ally. And I remembered that text message. Maybe someday you'll earn the right to sit at the table with us. Yeah. Maybe someday I would, but not today. I called Tyler back that evening, not because of the panicked messages, not because I felt guilty, but because he's still my son and I still love him, even when he's being an idiot. Dad, thank God. Look, we need to fix this, Tyler, I said, keeping my voice calm and level. I want to ask you one question, and I want you to think real hard before you answer. In the last 6 months, how many times have you seen me spend time with Lucas? Silence. Long, uncomfortable silence. Dad, it's complicated. It's not complicated, son. It's math. How many times? More silence. I could hear Michelle in the background, probably trying to coach him through this conversation. I don't know. A few times. 3 times, Tyler. 3 times in 6 months. Your son used to see his grandfather every weekend. Now I'm lucky if I get an hour every other month. And when I try to talk to you about it, you tell me I need to respect Michelle's decisions as parents. Well, guess what? I'm making my own decisions now, Dad. You're being unreasonable. We can work this out, can we? Because 24 hours ago, I wasn't even worthy of sitting at your Thanksgiving table. Now that the money's gone, suddenly I'm family again. That's not how family works, Tyler. I could hear Michelle's voice getting louder in the background, more insistent. Tyler covered the phone for a moment, and I could make out pieces of their conversation. Something about fix this and can't afford and told you so. When Tyler came back on the line, his voice was different, defeated. Look, he said, and I could tell he was reading from notes Michelle had written, we want you to come for Thanksgiving. Michelle was just stressed and said some things she didn't mean. We value your relationship with Lucas, and we want to find a better way forward. That's good to hear, son. Here's my better way forward. I want to see Lucas every Saturday morning like we used to. No excuses, no supervision, no conditions. Just a grandfather and his grandson having pancakes and going to the park. You give me that, and we can talk about the money. I'll have to discuss it with Michelle. You do that. And Tyler, while you're discussing it, you might want to remind your wife that respect goes both ways. I've been nothing but supportive for 3 years, and I got treated like garbage for it. That ends now. I hung up before he could respond. The next few days were interesting. Radio silence from their end, which told me Michelle was having some very uncomfortable conversations about their financial situation. No more group texts about Thanksgiving plans. No more passive-aggressive messages about boundaries. Thursday came, the Thursday before Thanksgiving, and my phone stayed quiet until around lunchtime. One text from Tyler. Can you come over this weekend? Michelle wants to apologize in person. I texted back. Is Lucas going to be there? Yes, then I'll see you Saturday at 10 a.m. Saturday morning, I drove over to their house, the house I'd been helping pay for, wondering what kind of performance Michelle was going to put on. I figured it would be Academy Award-level acting. Tears, apologies, maybe some story about postpartum depression or work stress that explained why she'd been so unreasonable. What I didn't expect was to walk in and find Michelle looking like she'd aged 5 years in 1 week. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back messily, none of that carefully composed appearance she usually maintained. Benjamin, she said, and her voice was smaller than I'd ever heard it. Thank you for coming. Lucas was playing with blocks in the living room, and when he saw me, he did that thing kids do, just lit up like a Christmas tree and ran over for a hug. 4-year-olds don't hold grudges, don't play games. They just love whoever shows up for them. Grandpa, Mom said you were coming. Are we going to have pancakes? I looked at Michelle, then at Tyler, both of them watching this interaction carefully. Well, buddy, that depends on your mom and dad. We sat down in the kitchen while Lucas played. Michelle started talking, and I'll give her this. She didn't try to make excuses or blame anyone else. I was wrong, she said simply. I was jealous and controlling, and I used Lucas as a weapon against you. I thought if I could prove that we didn't need you, that Tyler didn't need you, then maybe I'd feel more secure in our family. But all I did was hurt everyone, including Lucas. Tyler nodded along, but he looked like a man who'd been having some very uncomfortable realizations about his wife and his own behavior. I want to make this right, Michelle continued. I want Lucas to have a relationship with his grandfather. I want you to be part of our family. But I need you to understand that this is hard for me. I grew up without grandparents, and I didn't understand how important that relationship could be until I almost destroyed it. I looked at her for a long moment. Part of me wanted to stay angry, to hold this grudge, to make them sweat a little longer. But Lucas was in the next room, asking when we were going to have our pancakes, and suddenly all the anger felt exhausting. "Michelle," I said, "I'm going to be straight with you. I don't trust you yet. You spent 6 months systematically keeping me away from my grandson. And one conversation doesn't undo that. But I'm willing to start over if you are." She nodded, tears in her eyes. Real tears, not the manipulative kind. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued. "I'm going to take Lucas for pancakes every Saturday morning, starting next week. No conditions, no restrictions, no excuses unless he's genuinely sick. That's non-negotiable. If you can handle that for a month without any drama, then we'll talk about everything else." "What about the money?" Tyler asked quietly. I looked at my son, really looked at him. He was 32 years old, married, with a kid of his own. But in that moment, he looked like the little boy who used to help me fix things in the garage on weekends. The money was never about control, Tyler. It was about love, about wanting to help my family get established. But love has to go both ways. You show me you want me in your life, really want me. Not just my wallet, and the payments will start again. Michelle spoke up then, her voice shaky but determined. "Benjamin, I want to say something else. I want to apologize for what I said about earning the right to sit at our table. That was cruel and wrong and beneath me. You've earned your place in this family 1,000 times over. I was just too proud and too scared to see it. And you know what? She meant it. I could tell. We had Thanksgiving dinner together that year after all. Not the big family gathering I'd originally hoped for, but just the four of us. Michelle cooked. I brought wine. Tyler carved the turkey. And Lucas told us all about his preschool turkey project and how he'd told his teacher that his grandpa was coming for dinner. It wasn't perfect. There was still tension, still things we needed to work through. But when Lucas climbed into my lap after dinner and asked if we could have pancakes the next day, and Michelle said yes without any hesitation, I knew we were going to be okay. The money. I turned the payments back on the following Monday. Not because they begged or because I felt guilty, but because that's what family does. We take care of each other. But I kept one important change. Instead of automatic payments, I write physical checks now. Every month, I sit down and write out those checks by hand, and I deliver them in person. It takes more time, sure, but it reminds all of us that family isn't automatic. It takes effort, respect, and conscious choice. Michelle and I will probably never be best friends. We're too different, and there's too much history between us. But we found a way to coexist. And more importantly, we found a way to both love Lucas without competing for his attention. Tyler's been different too. Stronger somehow. I think standing up to Michelle that week, even if it took a financial crisis to make it happen, reminded him that he's got a backbone when he chooses to use it. As for me, well, I learned something important. Money might be a useful tool, but it's not the foundation of family. Love is, respect is, showing up is. But sometimes, you've got to be willing to walk away from the table to remind everyone else what you bring to it. Lucas and I have our Saturday pancakes now. Every week, no excuses. And sometimes, when he's syrup sticky and laughing at something silly I've said, I think about that text message, about earning the right to sit with family. Turns out I'd had that right all along. I just forgot how valuable it was until someone tried to take it away, and now I never forget. Sometimes the people who take your generosity for granted need to feel what life looks like without it before they remember to say thank you. Family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about mutual respect. And if someone doesn't respect your place at the table, maybe it's time to build your own.